Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Dom and another video from me this week. So I wanted to show off some of these new Vallejo Xpress colour paints, what I picked up the other day. So people who follow the channel will know I'm a big user of contrast paints from GW. I find them very useful. I don't necessarily use them exactly as they're supposed to be used, inverted commas. I think they're just, and I don't necessarily get completely obsessed with them. They're another tool in the arsenal when you're painting. But I saw these Vallejo ones and I thought I'd give them a try, and I pre-ordered not the whole range but just a selection of actually quite a few actually from Goblin Games, and they arrived last weekend, and I've had a little play with some of them, but I thought some people might like to see them. Now, I say I'm a big supporter of GW's contrast paints, but they are expensive. They're £4 something or other, whereas these from Goblin were £2.93 a pot. Even on the full price, they're £3.25. So they're a good amount cheaper than the GW's, which is great, because they are exactly the same bottle size. They're 18 mils. Now you notice also they come in the dropper bottles rather than the flip top things that the contrast paints come in. Now I'm actually one of the few people I think who likes those pots that GW paints come in. I find, because I'm lazy and I don't really do an awful lot with my paints other than just take them out of the pot. It's a ready provided dispenser. Now obviously the trouble with them is that if you knock them over, that's a lot of money just gone all over your desktop, let alone any mess that you make with it on your figures and so forth. So the droppers are useful, but I still prefer the old ones. I have tinkered around with the Army Painter speed paints, but I've been put off by the reactivation issue you have with them. So I'm hoping that Express will give me a little bit more range, I guess, for compared with the GWs, and a little bit cheaper. And so far, I think they do that. So I thought what I'd do is, rather than... I did start to use them in painting and just sort of showing how they worked, but the trouble is I paint a lot on grey, and it doesn't necessarily show the full gambit of the colour. So what I've done is picked up some spare bits and bobs, some cloaks, and actually some bits of dogs that I'm not using, and I've sprayed them matte white, just completely white with Halford's white primer, just to get them ready. And then I've painted a single coat of each of these Express colours that I've bought on the white figure. And I thought I'd show you what they look like, so you get a good sense of the colours, how they pick up, how they flow, etc, etc. So let's have a look. So first up, this is Orc Skin, which is code number 72.415. And you can see it's quite a pale green. As I say, I've used it just one coat over the top of a white spray painted cloak. And I missed a bit there, and there's a little bobble there, but otherwise it's applied quite nicely. And the whole point of these sort of contrasty type paints, speed paints, express paints, is that they are supposed to provide sort of a natural sort of shading to the painting, and you can see it sort of does that. The colour has, or the darker colour has sort of recessed into the creases of the cloak, and it's lighter where it's more raised, and that's sort of a nice, easy, quick way to paint, and that's the whole strength of these paints. Now some people, myself included, will actually go along and accentuate the highlights a bit on the raised bits, but I think that green is quite nice. It's quite a limey green, and quite a light green, but remember this is on white, and you can play with the different base colours that you use to tone up or tone down that colour. So that's Orc Skin green. So next up, this is another green. This is Snake Green, 72.417. And this is a much more turquoisey green. You can see it's a nice colour. It's a very royal, rich colour. A lot lighter than it appears on the bottom of the bottle if you look at that. Actually, when I'm talking about the bottles for these Xpresses, the one criticism I have of them so far is that they don't have any mixing balls inside them, which is slightly frustrating. That said, I haven't so far encountered that much separation with them, so good shake or two to begin, and they seem to be pretty good, but I'm surprised they don't have anything like that in there. So, oops. So there you go. That's the rather nice green, actually. It's sort of, as I say, an emeraldy green, I think. And that is snake green. So the next one is Mystic Blue, 72.4111. 411. And I like this blue very much. It comes out much lighter on the white base than it appears on the pot. But it's a nice colour, and I think you could build up your colours from this really, really easily. And it applied very, very well. Remember, this is just one coat that I've put on here, and you can see the pooling in the creases, which sort of gives you instant highlighting to a degree. So there you go. That's the Mystic Blue. So this is one that when I first painted it on, I thought, oh, I'm not sure I like that colour. It looked very wishy-washy, but actually it's dried a very nice yellow colour. This is Imperial Yellow, which is 72.413. And again, you can see, if I take my big fat finger out of the way, you can see how the colour is pulled. I've missed a couple of bits, which is a bit of a shame, but there you go. That's just one coat, and I think if you put another coat on that, that would be quite vivid yellow, and would work really nicely if you needed a yellow tone to your figures. So this one is a bit of an oddity. So this is Black Lotus, 72.423. Now, when I saw this in the pot, I thought it's going to be another replacement for what is it, Black Legion, or whatever the contrast paint is. But you can see when you apply it, it's got a really grey look to it. And obviously, I've picked out a figure. This is a Irish Wolfhound, I think, and actually the colour works quite well for it. And because I wanted the texture, and you can see how it's settled into the creases of the coat of that dog, but left very much a lighter grey, or sort of almost like basilicum grey, I think, in the contrast paints. Quite a nice colour though, but not really black. But anyway, useful one. I think this will be a colour that I will use quite a bit. I could see it as a base colour for armour. If I did that and then highlighted a little bit, or just dry brushed with a bit of silver, that would come up really nicely. So this is another really nice colour, I think. This is Velvet Red, 72.407 is its code. I think it's a nice mid-red, shall we say. I think that would work really well as a red coat for a British Napoleonic infantryman, for instance. And I do like the pooling on this one. I think it's collected beautifully in the creases to give you that darker red, really almost black sheen to the paint. So yeah, like that one a lot. That one I can see getting quite a lot of usage. So talking about Napoleonics, this one I could see as French Napoleonic base colour. This is Omega Blue, which is 42, is it 42? I've hidden the number. 72.413. Again, a really nice rich blue colour. A lot lighter on a white background than that the pot seems to dictate. But I think it's a nice colour, and I could see that working really well, as I say, with my French Napoleonics, or people who, whoever wears a blue uniform. Now, I think I used this colour on my Japanese Boxer Coalition troops because I thought it worked really well, and I think it's a nice colour. Next one, this is Dwarf Skin, 72.402. This is sort of like a Gulman's Flesh, is it, on the contrast paints, but slightly paler. I've been using this as a flesh tone colour on some figures already, and I think it works very nicely. You can see here on this dog the effect it has of pooling to sort of accentuate eye sockets and that sort of thing, which I like. It's a lot paler actually than Gulliman's, and I have found definitely when I've been using it on my grey primed figures, I need to lighten the faces and the hands first with a white or a very pale pink, and then use this over the top. But I think the effect is actually quite nice. So that's Dwarf Skin. So I think this is a colour that I could see quite a lot of use for. This is Copper Brown, 72.421, sorry. It's like what's the reddy brown in the contrast paints, but it's got that sort of brown but slightly reddy hint to it, which I think works really well on fur and skin and hair. Also some sort of leather effects it would work really well for. Gore Grunter, that's it, Gore Grunter. Slightly paler than Gore Grunter, but a nice colour, and I think again this is one I will probably get quite a lot of use out of. Now this one's an intriguing one. This is Space Grey, I think it's called, 72.422. I wasn't sure this would be actually very useful to me, but actually I like the very pale blue that's come out. It's almost like a baby blue. Kind of nice. And again, the pooling works beautifully. You can see that darker blue in the background to it. So again, I think it could have some uses in the historical world. So this one it's going to be an odd one, I think. This is Templar White. So what's the number? 72401. It's a very grey white, and I think you could use it as a base coat on a white figure. Now bear in mind, of course, this cloak was sprayed white, and it doesn't actually seem to have left an awful lot of colour on it, but where the grey has collected, you've got some degree of highlighting. Now I've got a lot of spotting on it, a lot of bubbling, so I think it would need a bit more careful application not to leave those bobbles on your finished product. But then you could highlight it with a bit of white, or just leave it as it is, but make sure the pooling is in the right places. But yeah, not quite so sure this will be heavily used for me, but kind of still useful to have something you can effectively wash a white on. So this one disappointed me a bit. This is Storm Blue, 72.412. I thought this was going to be a lovely dark blue, but you can see it sort of washed out very much when I applied it to the white figure. And I could put another coat on, which might darken it up a bit, but the whole point of these paints is one coat. I think the other blue we've already looked at will be more useful to me than this, because it just washes out so much. That said, I have used it on grey undercoated figures, and it holds a bit more of its colour. But yeah, not the best one, this one, I don't think. So this is one that I think will be hugely useful to me. This is Wasteland Brown, 72.420. I think this is a lovely brown. It works beautifully. It's a bit like snake bite leather, slightly paler on a white background than snake bite, but I think it has a really nice application. I can see it as a leather colour, just as a brown. I've used it on trousers before already on some of my figures, and it comes out really, really nice. Has a nice sheen to it after it's finished, once you've had that application. You can see I missed a bit on the top of this figure's forehead, but you know, it still gives a nice colour on that texture of that coat on that dog. So it seems a bit weird to see a green dog, but this is Lizard Green, 72.418. I like this colour. I didn't think it'd be much use because I thought it was going to be too emeraldy, but I think it. You can see on the coat of the dog, it's sort of really sunk into the recesses and left you a nice opportunity to highlight above that. So I think this is quite a good green. I could see this working very well on I don't know, even something like the 95th. Maybe it's a touch light at the moment, but as I say, if you highlighted it with a slightly darker green on top, it might work really well. So yeah, nice green. So another one that I actually was disappointed when I applied it. It looked really watery. This is Martian Orange, 72.405. But when it's dried, I really like the look of it. It's a very nice orange colour. I'm not sure how often I'll need an orange like that, but I think it works really well as a cloak like that. So maybe in some sort of wealthy merchant wearing an orange cloak, I don't know. But yeah, again, I like the collection of how it's collected in the creases, the colours it's left. I think the effect is really quite good. And finally, for now, this is the Plasma Red, 72.406. Very orangey red, fire red. I think it's a nice red. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to use it for Napoleonics, because I think the other red is probably more useful. But it gives a really nice effect. And you can see again on the coat of this dog, how it's applied and sunk beautifully into the crevices and what have you, left you a nice colour. I like it very much indeed. So there you go. Quick look at some of the paints that I picked up from this Express colour range from Vallejo. They're available now from pretty much all stockists, I think. I like them. I think they give a really good alternative to or complement to the contrast paints. They're considerably cheaper. £1 a bottle at least, cheaper, which is great for the same amount. Come in the dropper bottles. I think there's some very bright colours which I didn't get, but I would be tempted to try some more of them just to see what they like. I think some of these, Wasteland Brown, the black colour, which is more like a grey, that red, that blue, could be really useful for a historical painter like me. And I'm pretty impressed with them so far. So thought you'd be interested to take a look at them. As I say, there's no real science involved. They were just literally painted on the white base coated figure. I only painted one coat, but then that's how they're supposed to operate, right? So it was a good generous coat, as they say they should be applied. So I think it gives a good reflection of the true colours that you get with these paints. And I think thumbs up to them. I think for the price alone, they're going to be worth trying out and another tool in your arsenal, so to speak. Anyway, hope you found it useful and helpful and what have you. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already done so, share the video to your friends and family. Great Auntie Mabel, because I'm sure she wants to know about Express colours. And I will see you again soon. This is Dom, signing out.